A couple of days later, in the warehouse's living room, Morgan groans, tugging one of the thick curtains over to block the glare of the midday summer sun. Even I'm having to let out a hot breath to cool myself every now and then, so I can't imagine what it must be like for the vampires with their sensitivity to temperatures. Due to, I assume, the sweltering heat, Farah has shed her usual attire in favor of a floral summer dress with a wide puffy skirt. Her painted toes are on display in yellow sandal wedges. She smiles over at me when she notices me staring. I'm still wearing the same thing, and I won't change out of it until the end of all time. So, have you learned anything? I ask. This gathering is part of our regular twice weekly meetings, but there's definitely more on the agenda at this one than usual, considering the bounty and the kidnapping. Not as much as we'd hoped, Ava states, running a hand over her hair with a sigh. Something has spurred sudden movement amongst the trappers in the area, though we are still unable to locate where they're gathering. Or why, Farah adds. Even the rogues around the area seem stirred up. Ava begins to pace. They're all becoming more brazen. Like this kidnapping, you mean? I ask, unsure whether this is a usual occurrence or potentially spurred by the increased activity. Exactly, Nat replies with a nod. They're barely even bothering to hide their tracks. You think it was trappers or rogues who took the girl? I hunch forwards, resting my elbows on my knees and clasping my hands together. The kidnapper was supernatural, so wouldn't rogues make more sense? But trappers do... Nat pauses to mull over the correct word choice, a heavy frown on her brow. Employ supernaturals? Morgan scoffs. Polite way of saying force supernaturals to do what they want. It's most likely why the girl was kidnapped. With her power, she'd make a good tool or weapon. Nat doesn't contradict Morgan's statement, but a wave of sadness tugs at her features. She rubs a hand over her mouth. Continue on without issue. Morgan is likely right, which is why we all need to focus on the task at hand and not let our emotions overcome us. But even if they use supernaturals, trappers don't trust them to work alone, do they? Farah asks, staring up at Ava from her place sprawled in a chair. Would they really have sent one to kidnap a target without supervision? The questions punctuate the air like confused notes scribbled on an invisible whiteboard, but they don't help us find any answers. We can only make guesses at the moment, Ava states through thinned lips, as though guesswork leaves a bitter taste on her tongue. For now, we'll have to up the frequency of our patrols. Very loud groans erupt from Farah and Morgan at this, and both of them quiet at Ava's glare. And we'll need to keep a closer watch over Detective Langford. Farah almost leaps from her seat, her hand raised. Oh, I can do that part. I have to hide a smile at her enthusiasm. In a professional capacity, Ava adds as she folds her arms. I'm the model of professionalism, thank you very much, she replies while placing a hand on her chest before throwing a wink my way. Ava rolls her eyes, rubbing at her temple. Well, if that concludes the meeting, I say, standing up with effort as tiredness seeps into my bones. Although I've managed more sleep the past couple of nights, they hadn't been as restful as I'd hoped. I bet I get to the station and begin the other side of my life. A ping sounds from my pocket, so I drag out my phone and blink at the bright screen. The sender of the message doesn't exactly inspire excitement. Received from Captain Sung, marketing for the blood drive will arrive soon. We'll send to your office. Terrific. Is something wrong? Nat asks, who has also stood. I'm helping to organize the annual blood drive, I reply, pushing my phone back into my pocket. I'm sure I'll find some time to fit the extra work in somewhere. A hush falls over the room, the heavy silence only punctuated by tension prickling around us. Ava and Nat glance at each other warily before Ava looks back at me. Blood drive? Will you be required to give blood at this event? Team leader ventures. Yes, I will, and no, I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. Yes, I will, I reply. I snap up a hand to stop Ava's next remark, which is on the edge of her pursed lips. And no, I don't know how I'm going to get out of it. She eases back somewhat at that. So you do plan to avoid the situation? Promoting the event is something I will have to do, but sharing my weirdly mutated blood is something I will avoid. The tension bubbling about the room pops and relief rolls over everyone instead. But how exactly I'm going to do that, I'm not sure yet. Nat smiles over at me. I'll help you think of something. I offer a smile in return. Thanks, but for now I really do have to get going. I need to grab breakfast before I head to the station. Ava looks back to me with her usual stoic mask set in place. Someone should escort. I'll go. Farah blurts out before the team leader can even finish her sentence. Farah scrambles from her seat to join my side, the enthusiasm that shines in her eyes adding a warmth to my tired lips. Ava purses her lips before relenting. All right, but we need you back here after you've seen the detective to the station. Farah gives a mock salute, standing stiff to attention. Aye, Captain. Ava's expression wilts at the comments as she glares towards Nat. Did you teach her that phrase? Oh, wait, that's Ava. Did you teach her that phrase? Nat coughs out an awkward apology while turning away, but Ava can't say anything more before Farah herds me quickly out of the door. At Haley's Bakery. The drive is a short one. There aren't many people about at this time of the morning, which means we barely take any time getting to the square, and I even managed to find an easy parking space. Inside Haley's Bakery, we're greeted with an explosion of florals and bright colors. The summer style for the little shop certainly packs a punch, with every chair painted in vibrant yellows or pinks and every space taken up with soft cushions or flowery draping. We take a seat at the window where Haley takes my order, Farah opting out of human food before we ease ourselves into a more relaxed morning. When my food arrives, I set about enjoying the addictive taste, only just managing to stop from moaning as I take a bite. When my eyes open, I find Farah gazing at me, her chin resting in her palm and a wistful smile on her face. She's been looking at me like this practically since the moment we sat down. A chuckle falls from me as I drop my food onto my plate and lean back in my chair. You know what I like about you? The question seems to bring Farah out of her reverie as she waits for me to continue. Your subtlety. I finish with a small smile. Oh, right. She clears her throat while tugging at her hoop earring. It's just hard not to get caught up. I can't believe how damn happy being with you makes me. I reach out to place my hand on hers to stop her fidgeting. I know how you feel. Her eyes flicker up to meet mine again, a shine to them that almost hypnotizes me. I'm really glad you do. A thought comes to me that I hadn't even considered. Have you ever been in a relationship before? I venture with a slight tilt of my head. Me? Relationships? So many, she replies with a shrug. She glances away with a crinkle to her nose. Well, maybe not so many. Kind of just many, some, a couple. Not really. I nod. They weren't even proper relationships, just some fun for like a week and poof, they left. A streak of pain filters through the way she tries to joke as she speaks. It makes my heart tug. But this is different, isn't it? Can you feel it? It's true. Even this early into the relationship, I know I've never felt this way about anyone before. There's something deeper that has yet to be discovered, and the excitement of learning what it is has me both eager and slightly terrified. You're so... Farah continues after my silence drags on. I arch a brow in expectation. So... She pouts before finally exploding. You want me? I flinch, not having expected that. I mean, not like that, though I hope you do want me like that too. She throws a wink my way that sends a pulse of heat through me. But what I mean is you want to be with me. When you could have chosen anyone, you chose me, and that's a feeling I've never really felt before. I don't want it to end. She slumps a little and lets out a couple of breaths after the rushed words. The statement takes a moment to process. Please say something. She scrunches up her hat on the table in her nervous grasp. I know it's early in the relationship, but I just needed to get it off my chest. I'm blabbering now. Am I blabbering? Oh, I love blabbering, I say, adding a wink to the words to help calm her obvious uncertainty. I'm a huge fan of it, in fact. Then you're really going to love being with me, she comments, letting out a breath and dropping her shoulders in relief at the interruption. I lean closer with a smile spreading over my lips. I already do. She chuckles softly, matching my closeness until her breath washes over my face and sends a thrill jolting through me. Her hands rest on my legs, the touch only adding to the feeling tingling around my nerves, and she smiles genuinely. An air of intimate expectation sizzles about us, causing a pleasurable wave of goosebumps to erupt over my skin. But I unfortunately don't get to enjoy the sensation for as long as I would like, as footsteps approach us from one side. Are you done here? Haley chimes with a bright smile, already reaching forwards to collect up my things. I clear my throat, standing from my place and leaving my payment on the table. I really should be getting to the station. Fra is quick to follow suit. I'll walk with you. And so we head out into the morning sunshine, unsure if the heat wrapped around us is from the sun or if it lingers from our moment before. On the way to the station. As we walk over from the square, Farah slips her hand around my arm. I respond instantly to the motion, pressing up against her side and walking in tandem. There's still no awkwardness to being this close. It's just so natural, so meant to be. I shake the thought away, partly so I can try and regain my focus before work, as we come to a slow stop outside of the station. We step apart, though our hands remain together, both of us needing a few more moments of contact before leaving. Well, have a good day. Catch lots of bad guys, she comments with a smile. I let out a breath. I doubt it will be anything that exciting. I can already hear my desk groaning with the paperwork that's probably appeared from nowhere overnight. She shrugs before mischief twinkles in her eyes. That's not so bad. Think of how many paper planes you could make out of them. You'd practically have a whole airport. I laugh. You make a good point. I was hoping I might be able to leave you with a parting gift, she continues, sauntering a step closer. You know, to help keep you thinking of me all day. From the way she licks temptingly at her lower lip, I can guess what the gift might involve. Sure, we'll allow the gift. My gaze lingers for a long while on the motion of her tongue before I manage to clear my throat and nod. Oh, very much like that. With unexpected eagerness, she grasps my hips and uses them to shift me back until I'm pressed against the wall behind me. Her leg slides between both of mine and completely closes the gap between us, the sensation making my breath catch. She meets my eye for a tempting second to check my comfort and then leans close. Her lips graze against my jawline before kissing my neck. The slowness of the motion sends anticipation skittering through me until I have to grip at her arms to contain it. But she ignores my obvious need and continues to trail slow, deep kisses down the length of my neck. My chin tilts up to give her further access. Her tongue slides out to moisten the path her kisses leave. My grip tightens on her as her hands slide upwards, firm enough to feel every part of me as they move, my heart thumping harder with every inch they take. When her lips find purchase against my sensitive skin again, her thumbs trace the outline of my body. A tingling heat erupts in my stomach and cascades down between my legs. Hot air washes against me as Farah steps away, leaving me about to melt onto the pavement beneath my feet. The vampire really knows how to work it when she wants to. She smiles sheepishly at me, rubbing a hand over the side of her neck as though nervous, which seems impossible after the confidence oozing from her every motion just a moment ago. Have a good day, babe, she says, a little out of breath. I clear my throat, trying to find some semblance of rational thought through the steamy haze in my mind. You too. She glances over at me, gives a very pleased grin at my reaction, and then swings away to stride down the road. Meanwhile, I try to breathe through the flood of sensations overflowing my body. Inside the station. As soon as I step inside the station, an all too familiar voice fills the space. My eyes fall on the toned, curving figure of Bobby, her body slouched casually against the front desk as she runs her fingers through her caramel-colored hair. Now, I do remember who Bobby is, the news reporter. I don't remember what voice she's had. We'll figure something out. I barely make it 2 steps forwards before she spots me. Ah, detective, there you are, she drawls. She strides forward, stopping a couple of feet away, and fidgets with the thin tasseled scarf about her long neck. The scarves have become a permanent addition to Bobby's wardrobe since the lingering scars she gained after the mess with the Ma Alucid. Well, we'll be a bit nice. I glance over Bobby for a moment before my eyes eventually fall on the scarf. She notices where my attention is and shifts uncomfortably. Is everything all right? I venture. You actually sound concerned, she coos, pursing her lips around the words. But there's nothing wrong with me. As for this town, that's a whole other issue, and it's why I'm here. What do you mean? She tugs a notebook out of her satchel. The Jefferson kidnapping, obviously, and I'm here for details. Oh, I probably should have guessed. So, will you be giving an official statement? She leans in uncomfortably close. Or something off the record? You really want the facts of this case? I ask. My readers are interested in excitement and sensation, things that mere facts can't provide, but the facts do at least give me somewhere I can start to. She chews on the word before smiling. Embellish. I like that voice for her. Hmm. That's a bit cruel. Uh, go with that. I shake my head as a scoff leaves me. What's a few mistruths if they sell papers, right? Bobby points her pen at me. Exactly, I knew you'd get it. Oh, you were being sarcastic. What gave it away? Well, excuse me for the surprise. I don't yet know you well enough to know what to expect from you. She shrugs. I cross my arms. And you never will. Things really have picked up pace around here, though, haven't they? She continues, tapping her pen against her chin and tilting her head. What's that supposed to mean? I know I'll regret asking, but it's impossible to stop the question. She drags her pen over her notebook. A murderer, a disease, and now a kidnapping. She sucks in a breath. The arrival of those agents has really stirred things up. She pauses. Or maybe, they're the cause? Her words hit right on target, but I'm quick enough to not let the emotion spill across my features. Bobby stares at me for a reaction, letting out a disappointed sigh when I reveal nothing. I know I'm getting close, she says. What are you doing here? Tina's voice breaks through the silent, heavy tension that has overcome us. She marches up to my side and throws a glare at Bobby. Don't you have anyone else to annoy? If they wanted to be annoyed, they could just come here and find you. Oh wait, maybe that's why this place is always empty. Bobby counters. Tina steps forward. Get out before I throw you out. You? She looks over her statuesque frame and seems to decide against testing her. I was leaving anyway. Yeah, you were. Tina calls after Bobby as she shuffles out. The atmosphere seems to lighten instantly with Bobby out of the building. At least for me. A cloud of unease still weighs on me at Tina's expression. Her body wilts as she leans against the front desk with a frown. What's wrong? I ask, completely forgetting about Bobby as worry overtakes me. She shakes her head. There's nothing wrong with me, but I can't say the same about Verda. I shift my gaze away instantly, staring at the wall and trying to keep my expression neutral. What do you mean? Ever since he got back, he's just not been himself. He's quiet, barely comments on any of my radical ideas, and just looks so drained. I finish, already fully aware of how Verda is looking these days, as well as the reason why. She nods. Exactly. Her shoulders shift up in a small shrug. Do you think something happened between him and Eric? Maybe something happened on their trip? I rub at my arm as she reels off possible reasons for the personality change in our colleague. I'm worried about him too, but maybe we shouldn't pry. I offer. Why not? We're his friends. That's our job. Tina counters. I shake my head. No, our job is to be there and support him and let him talk if he wants to. She rolls her lips together before letting out a sigh. But how can we help if he won't tell us what's wrong? By letting him know we're here and he's not alone, I reply, hoping that the words hold true. I guess you're right. Her strained tone doesn't make it seem like she really thinks so, even though she tries to smile. Hopefully he'll let us know soon. Turning, she makes to head away with a small wave back at me. I head to my office before she changes her mind. Inside my office, I fall into my chair, the heavy motion expelling a sharp breath from me. It's difficult to drown out the unease of the previous conversation, so instead I hunch forwards to focus on work. A stack of boring, grey-toned flyers for the blood drive are piled on one end of my desk. A note attached to the top reads, "Please ensure these are passed to the people in town." I flip the note over, putting the assignment in my mental list of tasks, and tug my keyboard closer instead. It's odd to be so alone in my office. Although the sun spreads its pool of warmth across the room, it just feels so empty. Before meeting Unit Bravo, working alone was a given as part of the job. Yet now I can't help but feel pangs of missing them when they're not around to bounce ideas off of or get input from, or even just to hang around with. And of course, at the thought of Unit Bravo, an image of Farah finds its way into my thoughts. How could it not? Being with her is already an experience I don't think I'll ever find again. Everything about our relationship just feels so right, as though it were so meant to be that it's obvious we would end up together. The strength of emotions that are tempted out of me by that vampire are so intense that it still surprises me, in the best of ways. But even so, there's a lot I don't know about her. My gaze flickers to my monitor, an idea bubbling into life that I know shouldn't be there. I can use the agency database now, which includes agent information. I was allowed access because as liaison, I may need prior knowledge on agents I might work with in the future or who might visit the town. Or I could use the database for gathering information on agents who already work here. No, we're not doing that. She'll tell me if she wants to. I shake my head as the word resounds in my mind. That would be a breach of trust. I know I should wait and let her tell me if she wants to. Curiosity is not an excuse for peeking into someone's private matters, even if the curiosity is overwhelming. I stab my finger onto the power button of the computer to take away the temptation. I settle in for a day of the usual tasks when a knock sounds at my door. I am more than a little shocked by the face which smiles sheepishly at me from the doorway. Eric! My voice hitches so I clear my throat. Is everything all right? He nods and eases inside the room. Yeah, everything is dandy. I was just hoping for a minute of your time. Of course, I wave my arm at the seat opposite me. Verda's husband settles into the seat. The sand-colored chino trousers and white shirt he's worn suits his casual style, though the uncertainty which creases his rounded features doesn't match the carefree outfit. I wanted to talk to you about Verda, he begins. Yeah, we'll nod and wait for him to continue. I move forwards in my chair and prompt him to continue with a silent nod of my head. I know. I blink a few times. Pardon? You know what? But the sudden rigid tension which stiffens his body, as well as the ripples of fear that spread across his face, answer that question for me. Oh. I smooth my fingers up the bridge of my nose. How much do you know? He pushes his fingers through his hair and stands up. Everything. I suck in a breath. He told you everything about the supernatural? This is bad. This is very bad. The words pound inside my mind, both guilt-ridden and chastising. Yes, he told me, he states, pacing across the small office with surprisingly petite steps for such a large man. But he didn't need to. Hesitation tugs on my words. Why? He stops pacing and turns to me with a frown. Because I am a supernatural. Oh. No. No. That's the more interesting part. Eric's words settle inside my mind for a while, as though trying to find a relevant place to file themselves amongst the overload of information already in there. I focus back on Eric after the statement has truly sunken in. Does Verda know about you? Eric gives a stern shake of his head, expelling a breath. No, definitely not. He flops back down into the chair, staring dejectedly at the floor. You know how he feels about the supernatural? It would ruin us. Then how do you think I can help? He looks up, a new hope glimmering in his eyes. I just want to help him see that it's not so bad, that nothing has really changed. He stands up again to resume pacing. This is the first opportunity I've had to possibly tell him the truth, to tell him about me, but I can't do that when he's so terrified. I stand up as well and move around the desk until I'm facing him. What do you suggest we do? Come over to dinner one night, help him through this, talk to him. He places a hand on my arm. He'll listen to you. I roll my head to one side to look at the wall. I haven't done much good so far. He squeezes my arm in a gentle grasp. You can, just give him the chance. His hand drops away. And you could bring one of Unit Bravo with you. Enthusiasm enters his voice at this suggestion. I lean back. You know who Unit Bravo are? I knew the moment I met them at the carnival. The agency are kind of the rock stars of the supernatural world, and word spreads quickly among the supernatural community, even more so in a town this small. He winks, a much cheerier attitude once again coming over him. I cock my head a little. This isn't just a ploy to meet one of them, is it? He shrugs and laughs, the sound adding to the lighter, happier air that surrounds my office now. Partly. Maybe I'll even get an autograph. All right, I say after a moment. Let me know when it is and we'll be there. Relief catches every part of him, and he almost droops into a puddle on the floor. Thank you, Detective. This will mean everything. With a fresh spring to his step, he heads out of my office with a smile of goodbye. I'm left to think over everything that's just happened. This might actually work. I try to convince myself with more optimism than I actually feel. Watching Verda so afraid, so not himself, is just a constant reminder of the mistake I may have made. But I can't do anything more about that until Eric gets in contact. And until then, I have actual work to do. Once again, I settle down into my chair, glance over my desk, and force my brain to zero in on the task at hand. Later that day in the evening at the station. Another day down. I push my chair back from my desk and give a satisfied nod. Most of the reports are typed up and checked. I actually got back to the messages that cluttered my in-tray, and I even managed to sort out the patrol schedule for the coming week. Even though I spent half the day staring at the phone, waiting for anything new on the Jefferson kidnapping. But there was nothing. Hopefully tomorrow there will be some actual news. Standing, I arch back to stretch myself out from the cold hunch my body had shaped itself into throughout the day, and I give a yawn. As I swing my arms back down, something on the corner of my desk flutters to the ground. I crouch down to retrieve it, rolling back on my heels as I hold the object between two fingers. It's the feather I found at the scene of the kidnapping. Nothing has been found on that either. The closest the station could find out was that it has screwy DNA, information Verda sent to me through a tense email rather than face-to-face as we used to. The agency have yet to get back to me. I twirl the feather inside the evidence bag, watching as it gleams silver in one direction and then gold in the other, sparkling brightly even in the dim light of evening. A shiver runs up my arm as I inspect the feather more closely, and a horrible sinking feeling drops into the pit of my stomach, a sense that whatever it means, it's not going to be good. Evening opposite the station. Outside of the station, an obscured figure shrugs a pair of enormous wings out from his back. The trees surrounding the man just opposite the building shudder at the strength of the motion. The huge wings beat hard against the warm night air until they finally gain traction and the figure soars up and out of sight. From this vantage point, it's almost easy for him to forget about it all, to deny the existence of everything so small down below. What a wonderful way it would be to live once again, free. But a painful snap jerks inside his chest, a reminder that such thoughts are foolish, and those days are long gone. And so instead, he takes this moment of weightlessness to enjoy what little isolation he can find. He closes his eyes and draws in the air, lets the warmth of the night caress his wings and his dark hair, and just flies. A few minutes of flying brings him to his destination. He begins his descent. The mere second he considers continuing on past is quickly corrected by another twisting pain inside his veins, and drops down with graceful agility. He lands deep in the forest that surrounds the insignificant town. When his feet hit the moon-soaked grassy ground, his leash holder is already waiting. His keeper moves an assured step closer, unimpressed by the creature's far larger presence and form, barely glancing over the outstretched wings that normally intimidate so many. They are just another tool to be used. You were successful in your task? Did you search the town? The leash holder asks. Yes. The keeper's eyes almost bulge with delight. So you found them. Guilt knots and tangles in his gut, sewing his lips closed and making him ball his fists at his sides. Well, the leash holder prompts through gritted teeth. Threat lies on the edge of that word, and prickling magic stabs tiny needles into his skin as the leash holder's fury grows. He surrenders, as always. Yes, he answers, his gaze falling. Next chapter.